Welcome to the Berry Dreams podcast. I'm your host, Elle Morris. This episode we have Simone Webb, also known as the Sensual Sage. She's a tarot reader and meditation instructor in Fort Worth, Texas. Stay tuned as we will be doing a collective tarot reading for those who cross paths with this episode. Enjoy! Tell me what you do and where you find your purpose in life.
I am a tarot reader. I've been doing tarot for forever. My grandmother taught me when I was 7. She was a apprentice when she was 16 for a tarot reader, and she's always been about witchy and esoteric things. And there was always books around the house for astrology, and I was just really into it. So she taught me. I feel like that's been my purpose that I've stepped into in these past few years, because it's just one of those things where I went on my spiritual journey. I was connecting with like my ancestors, and I'm like, these are my ancestral gifts, and it helps other people, and it made me feel empowered, So that's definitely one of my purposes. I feel like I have quite a bit of purpose.
Yeah.
But that's definitely one that I'm truly connected to at this time, for sure.
Is your grandmother still with us?
She is not. Yeah.
How long ago did she pass?
She passed in 2014, I believe. It's hard to remember.
It's a long time.
Yeah, it becomes kind of a blur. But yes, that's when she passed. And yeah, it's interesting because my grandmother, fun fact, has died like 3 times. And I know that sounds crazy, but like she'll die and then she'll like come back to life. Like she'll get like shocked back to life or something where she'll come back to life. So she's died like 3 times, but the last time kind of got her. But she visits me a lot in my dreams. It doesn't really feel like she's gone because I still feel like a very strong connection to her, and it's great.
Were you guys super close?
Oh yeah, super duper close. Yeah, we were around each other all the time. My mom was in the military, so she was gone a lot. So I lived with my grandma for a good portion of my life, and we were just like connected at the hip, like obsessed. And me and my grandmother have similar personalities versus me and my mom, so we were very, very close.
Do you still have a relationship with your mother?
Our relationship is a little bit strained at the moment, actually. So one thing I will say is like, as you start going onto any paths of discovery, right? Whether you're going through like therapy or spiritual paths or things like that open up, you become, I guess, like deeper sense of awareness, and you start recognizing patterns in your family and trauma and all these things, and maybe even people pleasing and stuff of that nature. So me and her, we came together last year. I guess it's 2021. So 2 years ago now. I went to go stay with her because after the pandemic, I just needed like a little reprieve. So I went to stay with her and my sister for like a year. And us living together, I just started noticing a lot of things. And I was like, hey, this is really triggering to my inner child when you do this. And she was like, I just feel like you're gaslighting me. And I'm like, you don't know what gaslighting means. I didn't say that, but I was like, here we go, using all of the like buzzwords right now. So
there's totally buzzwords, gaslighting.
Buzzwords, gaslighting and narcissist. It's been overused. But yeah, so I would have these gentle conversations with her, trying to call her in, and she just wasn't really ready for those. So, spiritually, I felt like, right now I just need to give her some space so she can actually sit with what I said and let it marinate versus me trying to like force a message on her. Like, I don't need her to do these things because it's her personal choice. I don't need anything from her. I don't feel attached to that, but I definitely wanted to give her awareness of some of her actions and behaviors and how they can be hurtful. And she's still working on it. So while she's working on that, I'm definitely taking some space away, and I feel good about it.
Was she open to hearing about your thoughts?
Well, it wasn't like, it's very strange because she'll say things like, well, did y'all have any, like, it's me and my sister, right? My sister, we have like a 13-year age gap. And at this time, my sister was graduating. We'll have like these family talks about different things. And she was like, well, is there anything that you guys need from me? And I'm like, well, actually, yeah. When we try to come into resolution, can we talk about all of the different options before we go straight to me not living here? I was like, that really is very triggering for my abandonment issues. And she would just be like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know how else to explain it to you. At this point, I just feel like you're refusing to understand what I'm saying. But I've said it in this way very calmly, like, hey, that is very triggering when we go straight to rejecting me versus figuring out the multiple layers of solutions, which we did. We came to a solution really easily. It was about something very, very simple as well. So I brought that up to her. It really wasn't clicking with her. Even my sister was like, what is going on? And I kind of felt bad for my sister because she has spent more time growing up and living with my mom. So she kind of saw a different side of our mother than she was used to. And I kind of felt bad because it's like she had this vision of who she thought her mom was. But then when she kind of saw our relationship, she was just like, who is this person? Because she saw like how open and conversational and problem solving and soft I was. And seeing how defensive my mom would get so easily about stuff and catching my mom being jealous of me about things. So I think she was just like, who is this person? Like, I just never knew this side.
How would you describe your sister's experience of your mother?
Well, my sister and my mom have a different relationship than me and my mom naturally. I guess I have to give a little like backstory, but like me growing up, I was very like nerdy and thicker. Like I had boobs in like middle school. Like I had boobs before everyone. I remember going like clothes shopping with my mom, and I was like in a D cup in
middle school. That's crazy.
Eighth grade. I had huge boobs.
Were you ashamed of that?
Yeah, I was wildly uncomfortable. I think I wore hoodies all the time. And then everybody would be like, you're not a virgin. Look at your boobies.
Yeah, I've heard that from people who have boobs at an early stage. It's like you want to cover them up because the kids sexualize you a lot.
Oh, yeah. It was insane. And I was super nerdy. Like I was in AP Science. I dressed like a boy a lot of the time, and I liked that. And my mom, she wanted a popular kid. Like she was popular in school, so she always wanted like that popular kid, and I was not that at all. I was weird AF. And so when my sister came along, my sister was like that, really like slim, very like cool attitude, likes to dress really fashionable, like has multiple guys like wanting to date her and stuff. So, and my sister just like knew who she was, like off top. And like also the thing about my sister, she's a Libra and she will just tell you how it is. There's no people pleasing with her.
Well, that's kind of good.
Yeah, it's badass.
Yeah,
actually.
It is.
I always admire my sister.
I bet she is beautiful because you have amazing genes. So I can't imagine what your sister looks like too.
Yeah, she's beautiful. Thank you. So my mom kind of finally got that like popular, cool kid that they could talk about fashion and gossip, when I was always like, I don't want to be mean to people.
Yeah, I was a people pleaser for sure.
Yeah. My mom wanted like, the mean girl she can have fun with. And my sister like fell into that role to like kind of like have that relationship. So they always were friends. That was their relationship. And me and my mom's relationship was more of, it needed healing. So I think that was kind of the difference. So then when I moved in with my mom and my sister, my sister recognizing how different my mom was with me, like just like guilty and uncomfortable. Cause like I remind my mom of her bad decisions. You know, she didn't make all the proper decisions with raising me like she was able to with my sister. And instead of her being able to face that, she just kind of resented me as being a reminder of that, you know? So,
well, I think a lot of parents don't like to hear that they weren't the best parent for their child, because it's like in their mind, they did what they could do, the best that they could in that moment in time. And because of that, then your child is not allowed to have any feelings about how they raised you, or they don't allow you to feel resentment. And I think, what could really helps, children move on is if the parents acknowledge, the child's experience. And when the parent resists the child's experience, in whatever capacity, it causes a lot of strain.
oh yeah, it can be very invalidating for sure. Especially if I'm like, hey, this experience that we had together created this within me. Like I recognize that our generation has grown up with the internet and mental health awareness and a lot of social justice issues that her generation did not. So there's even words to things that didn't have language before.
Yeah, that's crazy, right?
Right.
So people were kind of living in the dark.
Right.
Gaslighting was like, I remember when I first heard the word gaslighting, it took me like a year to figure out what it means. I was like, I kept forgetting. I would look it up and then I would forget what it meant. But I think the gaslighting term came up with narcissism talk.
They rose together.
Well, I think it was a derivative of narcissism.
Oh, for sure.
Because
it's a tool.
It's a tool that narcissists use. And they use that term to kind of bring light to when you feel like something happened and then somebody else says, no, that didn't happen. You're like, I swear I saw that pencil drop. And they're like, no, you didn't see that pencil drop. It's all in your head. And then you believe that, and then you feel crazy for, experiencing something, and they make you feel like you did not experience that. And like the way you're perceiving what happened is a figment of your imagination.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. Little sidebar, but the term gaslight came from like this 1930s movie called Gaslight. This man, he was married to this woman and they didn't believe in divorce, but he didn't want to be with her anymore. So he started doing weird things around the house, like leaving the gas light on and turning different things on and off, moving things around when he was supposed to be at work. And then he would show up and she would be like, I could have swore this was here or there or this was that. So he did that for a while to make her feel like she was crazy so he can send her to the asylum instead of divorcing her.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Sick.
That movie was made in the 30s?
Yeah, I think it was like 1930 or 1940.
I want to watch that movie. I'm going to write this down.
Yeah.
I was always wondering, I was like, where in the hell does gaslight come from? That's cool. Where did you read that? On the internet?
Yeah, I research everything.
Oh gosh. I mean, I'm sure so many people don't know that story. We're all just saying gaslight. Yeah. But imagine your movie having that much of an impact that like 100 years later, they start using a term that comes from your movie. That's dope.
Yeah, like a little psychological thriller.
When did black and white movies come about? Or stop or end?
I think in the 30s, actually.
Really?
I think that's when they started going into color.
I have no idea, because if I were to guess, I would have guessed like the 40s and 50s.
It could have been the 40s, actually.
I have no idea.
I did actually watch something about that, but I can't quite remember. I think it was between like the 30s and 40s when it went into color. But yeah, fascinating. But yeah, I grew up with my grandma and we've watched all the classic movies. So like, I know a lot of old things.
I feel like I want to spend more time watching older films. I think there's a lot of films I haven't seen. And now that I have a projector, it could be like a whole quest to find movies that are old and interesting. And I know people who can say, oh, I love this director or blah, blah, blah. And I've never been cultured enough in film to say that, I like this director. Or, there's Quentin Tarantino and I've seen a lot of his films. And who's the one that made Beetlejuice? Was that?
I'm bad with directors. Another director I know is Michael Scorsese, but I couldn't even say what he does.
I know. I want to get better at that.
Me too. I really do.
So going back to your family and like, how old were you when you realized you were queer?
So the funny thing is like, I thought a lot of people were, I guess, queer. I didn't really have like a name for it necessarily. I just was like, oh, like, doesn't everybody think that women are attractive? Like, yeah, everybody does, of course. Like, women are beautiful. Of course they do. And I just was like, it took me a while to recognize like, oh, not everybody thinks of women in this same way. Like, they don't feel like their heart beating, like,
in their pants.
In their pants. I'm like, that's not happening to you as well? Okay, interesting. But, I think actually even my first like sexual experience was with a woman. I just didn't really, it wasn't even anything I kind of like thought about. I just kind of thought like, everybody does this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
For me, I was very clearly knew that it was not allowed.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Yeah, you didn't know? I remember hearing a lot about like, girls in high school, they would like stay the night with their friend and they would like make out and shit. And I didn't do that.
Yeah.
I didn't start making out with girls until college.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, I was like, I hope my family doesn't listen to this. It was like when I was like raving and when I was like 17, I would sneak out of the house and oh God, I'm going to get annihilated. And yeah, that's where I kissed a girl for the first time was at a rave. And then I just started rolling down a hill like a snowball, just getting,
like a rainbow snowball.
A rainbow snowball, just picking up speed, the more time went on. And yeah, but my first sexual experience was with a boy. I feel like I kind of forced it too, because all my friends were, experienced. They had all had their first kiss and, they had all been fingered before, And so I was like really trying to like force it. Because everyone was like, we think you're gay because you haven't done anything yet.
And you're like, oh my God, no.
I'm not gay. Well, I think at that point in time, I was so resistant to the thought of it because of growing up in a religious home. So it wasn't until I was 24 that I started to actively see women. Not even actively. Like I was so shy and afraid of it all. And I was so shameful. Now I'm not. I'm a free bird.
We love to see it.
Yeah. And then, so was your first relationship with a woman?
So no, my first relationship was not with a woman. And I kind of was a late bloomer on men as well. My first relationship with a guy was when I was 17. I was pretty late into the game. Like people wanted to date me. Like I said, big boobs in middle school. So people wanted to date me often, but I was just like so freaked out about it.
They wanted to do the undershirt hand grab.
Yeah, they did. They did. I had a lot of guys that were constantly pursuing me, but then, they get to know me and then they'd be like, oh, she's weird. Which I was totally about. I was like, that's fine. Like I would always be like, the quiet person, like sketching all of these crazy things on my notebook and, really, really smart. But then so my mom being in the military, like I went to 5 different high schools. So I was never consistently anywhere for too long. So I didn't really see a point in getting in a relationship because I'm like, if I were to like get into a relationship with anyone, like I could move in like the next 2 months and that would just like tear me up. So I think that was part of the reason why it took me a while to actually be in a relationship with someone. And then my first boyfriend was someone that I knew like most of my life. We just kind of grew up around each other. It was one of my mom's best friend's sons and we were like the same age and we just always seen each other like throughout our entire lives. And then we end up in a relationship. It was all right.
Yeah.
It was okay.
When was it in college that you started to date like women pretty regularly? Did you go to college or no?
I didn't go to college. My mom was really insistent on me going to college.
Mm-hmm.
And I, obviously you can kind of tell our relationship has been rocky. And I was just really rebellious to that.
Mm-hmm.
I went to college for like a very short amount of time. And it was only because she was like, so she had a house built in Rockwall, Texas. Huge, like 6-bedroom house, but she was overseas and it was just sitting there empty. And when I was like 21, I was living in Oklahoma for a while, but I wanted to move back to Texas. I had finished up my esthetician license and I wanted to come to Texas because I knew there would be more job opportunities for aesthetics and makeup artistry and all that stuff. So I was like, okay, well, I want to move to the house. And she was like, you can only stay there if you go to college. And I was like, okay. But I was like really avoiding it because I didn't think it was necessary for me and the ideas that I wanted to produce for my future. I was like,
It's not for everyone.
It's not for everyone. And it really wasn't necessary for me for the ideas of the things that I wanted to create. Because when I was 17, I was like, I want to create this like wellness center and I want to have like this space for people to really relax, and you just don't need to go to college for that, to be honest.
I didn't want to go to college either, and I felt kind of forced to go, and I almost left just so I could live outside of my parents' home and be free in a dorm. But then I think what I started to see with going to college was it like gave me freedom, and so then I wanted to stay in it. And then it was like you could apply for scholarships to live in different countries. And so I'd write a bunch of essays. So I kind of used it as a tool and a way to kind of get the free level of freedom that I was seeking. But I don't think that college is for everyone. And now I have a lot of school debt that I have to worry about.
Yeah, I think that was one of my reasons, because I was like, I'm not going to go to college if, one, I don't know exactly what I want to be there for. And two, if it's going to put me in all of this debt, it didn't make sense to me. But, I still feel like I don't blame people for going to college or seeking that out. And I think even if you utilize their exact degree, I feel like a lot of people still appreciate the fact that they went because of the experience, the people that they met.
Also, I think it teaches you time management. I mean, come on, I don't really remember the things that I learned. I mean, there's like little facts that I can pull out of my asshole, but I think going to college, it just taught me responsibility in a way. I think it's like the first time you're doing school without someone there to tell you you have to do it. So in a way, it kind of like teaches you some life skills, even though you're just taking, and it's also good because in the United States, at least, we have the liberal arts degree. You have to take general courses outside of what you're focused on. So you take art, you take writing, you take math, science. You have to take every single subject class in every single subject. And then at the end of your degree, you focus more on your major. And I think this was also helpful because it kind of gave me a broader perspective of what is out there in the world. And I also just liked college because, I had to do it myself. So I'm very independent. When I was in high school, I was never working hard or anything. I need to work on honoring myself and, giving myself the space that it needs and not trying to get 100 million things done and being okay with, taking it slow. I mean, like you said, like I feel like I'm constantly running a marathon sometimes, and I'm such a internal person that when I neglect that part of myself, I just feel chaos. I feel chaotic and my brain feels unsettled and unrested, and I start to get anxiety and I start to feel resistance in many areas of my life. Like I'm resisting work, life, friends, house, whatever it is, like every aspect of my life. And I think when I give myself that internal time to process the things that are going on, they don't get all bottled up and explode.
Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. I feel like I've been there like a billion times. I feel like that was a part of like, I was like, something needs to give. And I think that was one of the big pushes for me to go into meditation. That was the catalyst for me because I was like, I need to fucking relax.
Yeah, I mean, I also have my own story, like of how I got into meditation, but I mean, I had always heard of it and I tried it once when I was like 17 in my bedroom. And I remember feeling like I was high, like feeling consciousness for the first time. It made me feel like I was high. But now when I meditate, I don't get that high anymore. But tell me the story about like when you first learned about meditation, who introduced it to you, and like your experience going through it and how that has led you to being a meditation teacher today.
We all know that my history has been with tarot, and there's a lot of different practices, but meditation wasn't one of the practices that I had early on. I was just tarot, and I do like a lot of dream work. So like I'll just keep a dream journal and all that stuff, and I would journal. So those were really the practices I tapped into. When I first started getting into meditation as heavily as I think it was 2016 or 17. So it was in the past few years. And what it was is I was really seeking community because my tarot gifts and my psychic abilities were growing immensely. And at the time I did feel very lonely in it. And I went to this meetup of, it was like a tarot painting event, and it was all women of color. So I was like, okay, I feel really good here. There's other women of color. I wonder if they're having experiences like mine, where they're having like these extreme psychic experiences as well. And I just wanted to connect. So I started talking with a few women there and telling them some of the very weird ass things happening to me. And I just felt understood instead of being looked at like I was like some anomaly or something. I just felt a little bit understood. So that was really, really nice. And then I met a woman there, and she taught meditation. And I was like, oh, I'd love to attend your class. So she would teach meditation out by White Rock Lake here in Dallas. And I would go every time. It was free. I think it was like every Sunday. And it was so relaxing. And I remember feeling that high feeling like every time. And it just made everything click. I felt like I could think more freely. And I also was able to process things a lot better. Like, does this thing that I'm holding on to so heavily, is it serving me? If I were to put it down, would that be okay? And I was able to kind of have more of that dialogue with myself, where I felt like, okay, I'm not just like marching forward from task to task. I'm like working in partnership with self. So after that, I had a really intense experience where my third eye opened. And I know that sounds really wild, but I actually saw it open. So just tell the story, but same meditation teacher, it was raining outside. So we end up taking the meditation inside this church, in this church basement, which I know sounds creepy, but it wasn't. It was
just a space.
Just a space. So we end up going there, and a few people showed up, and we had our yoga mats, and we all laid down, and she took us through this guided meditation. And in the meditation, I started having these visuals, and I saw my eye open in the middle of my forehead, and I saw like the universe like pouring this yellow light into my eye. And I also had a vision of me as like a tiny person, like inside of my body, but like right here at my chest level. So everything below my chest was just straight dirt to my feet. And I was this tiny version of myself, and everything else was like the sky. I don't know if you've ever seen that like old 1980s like arcade game Dig Dug, but if you've seen it, it kind of looked like that visual. It's like, so I had these little like globes or bubbles that I was trying to fill with dirt to like rid the rest of my body of all this dirt. And then I'm like this tiny, like 3-inch person, like trying to fill these bubbles up with dirt. And I'm taking all of this effort to do it. And then I just hear this voice that says, believe in yourself. And then all of the dirt just broke up. It was just like, poof, and it just like exploded away. And then it took me to this other visual where I was in the bubble, and I was like floating in the sky, and I imagined the bubble popped. So it popped, and then I'm falling, and there's like nothing around. It's like just manila, like the color manila, like nothing. And I'm like falling and I'm struggling and I'm like waving my arms and I'm realizing I'm falling for the longest time and haven't hit anything. So then I decided to start doing a swimming motion. So then I'm like swimming. And then I decided to do a flying motion, and then I start flying, and then I just stood still. It just made me realize all the messages that the universe was showing me was basically saying that like your existence is created based off of what you believe is real. And if you believe you're falling, then you're falling. Like your struggle, and I don't want to dismiss anyone who's experiencing struggle, and I'm not saying like you brought it upon yourself or anything like that, but in my vision it was just like, you know, struggling is something that you can choose, you know,
because you're resisting.
Exactly.
And if you just accept, you're not putting energy into the resistance, which causes you to struggle.
And at the time I really needed to hear that, because like I'm definitely a Leo in my heart. If you guys know anything about astrology, that is definitely like the drama queen, you know, archetype. But I really fed on having these like movie-like experiences in my life. So I was like, oh, the drama, like it has to be, I'm in love with this person, but I'm scared. So I run off and then they chase me and then we make out in the rain. Like I just always had to have these like tremendous stories of like pain and struggle and triumph. And I just, after that awakening and that understanding, I just kind of was like, I don't have to spend my time like creating trouble in my life, you know, and telling every single person I know about this story. And, you know, I can just let it go and I can actually choose how I feel. And then that will end up being, and I started putting manifestation into play after that. And just things kept on getting freakier and even more cool. And I just feel like I have this powerful connection to the universe and to everything around me. And I feel like the world mirrors back to me what I'm experiencing, and the people I connect with, I feel like are just like pieces of my soul being shown right back to me. And it's really, I don't know how to explain it. It just feels really comforting.
Sometimes I feel like these very strong gut feelings, but I think with manifestation, I think it also goes into synchronicity. Like when you start to think stuff and you learn something new, you hear the word more often. Or if you think of something, maybe you talk about something that's meaningful and you just go online and just see if it's there, and it is there. And you just like, it kind of like leads you on a path to that intuition feeling, spending time to work it out, process, think about it. And then I think you like invite those things into your life. With manifestation, I kind of want to talk a little bit more about that. And sometimes I feel like I'll have like an intuition and it'll feel really strong. And I will feel like, why do I have this really strong intuition? And then my brain tries to label it, tries to, you know, understand why I have this strong inclination to take an action, or the intuition that I have and the action I take on it, and the reason why I think that may be why I needed to take that action, the result doesn't come. And sometimes I get this idea of manifestation that if I have this intuition and I feel like I know what's going to come out of it, and I really put out in the universe, this is what I want and desire, and then it doesn't come to me. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I've definitely heard very similar things to that. And my thoughts on that is a few things. One, sometimes we're manifesting things that might not be good for us, you know, and it also could be coming from a place of fear and lack. So if we're manifesting something from a place of fear, it's not going to come to you, right? Manifestation typically comes in a way of like, okay, this is the vibration that you're carrying. This is what you desire and believe in. And it's also in alignment with like your higher purpose and goals. You know, when all of that comes together, then it's like, yeah, this is that. Sometimes if a manifestation doesn't come, in my mind, I'm like, okay, then that's like dodging a bullet essentially.
Yeah.
Because there's definitely been times where I've manifested things, manifested specific people, and they definitely have come into my life, but they didn't come in the way that I thought they were. Like I thought I was manifesting like this divine partnership, right?
But then what about the intuition you felt?
So the intuition part of it, I will say sometimes it is intuition, right? And then sometimes it could be coming from a place of, again, like fear, you know? So I think it's just one of those things you have to kind of check in like, okay, if it's intuition, it's just like a full body knowing and it feels calm. If it's a fear
unease and you're like, I just wonder, I'm like really hopeful.
Yeah, there's
like,
a lot more anxiety behind it with that.
Yeah. There's something in my life right now that I feel is like overwhelming peace about. And sometimes I just don't know when to trust that intuition because I don't know. Yeah, exact time I'm talking about with the intuition and expecting a result. And I was feeling nervous and uneasy. I wasn't feeling like this is what's supposed to happen. It was something that I wanted and desired in my heart to change maybe the circumstance that I was in. And I think it was that it was like an act of desperation. And with the current situation, I almost feel like, okay, this is my calling. And the intuition after doing what I did, sorry to be so elusive, but I can't really speak about it.
Yeah, that's fine.
And I can speak to you about it after, but right now I can't. I just feel like it is like, I don't even have to guess, like it has happened and it hasn't happened yet, but I just feel like I'm not even freakingly checking, you know, communication devices. I'm just like, I know, like it is. And I've already celebrated it.
See, I love that. I love that. And that's another key thing too, like about manifesting things in general. I think it's a formula. 100% is a formula. You have to feel that sense of knowing. It's almost like you have to feel that sense of knowing, celebrate it as if it's all already yours, and then you just release it to the universe until it makes its way to you, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know, but sometimes I get doubt and I wonder if like having doubt about the intuition and that it's real, does that affect the manifestation in the universe when you question?
So this is how I kind of think about the universe. I'm like, the universe is like universe daddy, you know? And they're like, I want to spoil you, girl.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
they want to give you the desires of your heart.
Exactly. So then the universe speaks in energy though. That's the language of the universe, right? So if your energy is saying, hey, I desire this, and then things of the energy that your body is speaking is now being magnified towards you. But when you start resisting it, then it gets pulled away from you, you know, because your energy is now communicating, I'm scared of this, or I don't want this, or this is threatening my safety. So then you start seeing it being pulled away from you. You know, when that does happen, and it does suck, it's just one of those opportunities that you can do some internal reflecting. Like, okay, why am I scared of this? Why do I feel like I don't deserve this? Which parts of myself need to be nurtured so I can understand that this is good for me and this is beautiful and this is something I do want and something I do deserve. Like, how can I come into alignment with this desire, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's, you know, realigning, coming into alignment, getting that time, figuring out like what, you know, fear came about, you know, because all of our emotions are messengers to our body, you know. So if a fear came about a manifestation or this doubt came up, it's like, well, why is this doubt coming up? Well, this doubt, for example, could be coming up because this is something I want really bad. And if it doesn't happen, I feel like I'm going to be hurt by it. So I'm scared about even trying to receive it because if it's not it, then it'll hurt, you know?
Yeah. Do you ever feel scared when you get an opportunity? I just lit some Palo Santos and it just gave me a breath of cleansingness. I love that.
I absolutely love it. It was perfect timing.
If you feel like there's something that you really desire in your heart, and then you get that doubt of like, well, what if I can't do it the way that I think that I can? And you get kind of scared of like, well, what if I can't do everything that or just like succeed at it? You know, like what happens if like I just fuck it up? And it's something that you really want, but it's a challenge and you know that, but you know that the challenge you want.
So if it's something that scares me, but it's something that I want, I know that on the other side of fear is freedom. Even if it doesn't work out, it's just like, I'm not being ran by this fear, which that by itself brings on this new level of confidence, right? Because you're approaching this wall, and instead of you being like, oh, I'm going to run away because I'm scared and I have doubts, you're like, F this, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to just punch through. That already puts you on this high because you just like expanded yourself as a person. You know, you're like, I'm brave, I'm badass. I said this scary thing. Like, this was a wall for me and I just busted through it. So the feeling that you get after that automatically, I feel like creates this momentum for you to continue to go after the things you want. So how I would navigate that is like, I would bust through that fear, whether it's me needing to speak up about something directly. A lot of times my fear or my wall that comes up when I'm moving towards something is through my throat chakra. Me being like scared to like mostly tell people how I feel. Like, oh God, it's
uncomfortable.
It's so uncomfortable. I just want to be one of those people that can be like
confrontational and direct.
Yes. Like, hey, I want you. I want this. What do you think about that? I just want to be that, direct with it. And I'm getting there. I'm definitely getting there. But my throat chakra is something that I've been working through a lot. But I will say, when you do say or do the things that have scared you, at that point, even if you want a specific result, at least in my experience, when that specific result doesn't come, I'm still left with this like, damn, that didn't work out. And that's kind of a bummer, but like, fuck, like I'm kind of the shit. Like I just did this like scary ass thing, and it feels empowering at the same time. It's like a level up. So like, if I don't get the exact outcome that I thought I would get, sometimes I'm also thinking, well, maybe I was thinking too small. Maybe something even bigger and better is about to come. And that's why this specific thing didn't work out, So I've actually experienced that recently. So that's really funny.
Yeah, I'm always, even if I don't understand why something didn't happen in the moment and I really felt like it was what I needed and what should have happened, like getting to this point in my life now, I'm like so grateful for the way that everything transpired. And even though I feel some unease right now in my life and whatever opportunities that I'm manifesting are not happening, or maybe they will happen, it's like I know in the future that as long as I'm, continually seeking my inner desires and putting them out into the universe and having that relationship with myself and, the greater whole and where I fit in all that into the system, it's like, I know that it's all going to work out.
I also think that with the expansion that you experience, right? Like you'll have a desire at the moment, and then with more knowledge and more expansion and more growth and more understanding, it's like more new desires come in. It's like your world, your universe becomes endless, And I think that that's also exciting in ways, because you're like, oh, okay, this is something I really want, or this is something that, 27-year-old Elle really wants. And then 32-year-old Elle is like, oh yeah, I forgot.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to meet her. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to think like how much can change in 5 years. Like,
oh yeah,
where were you 5 years ago?
Oh God.
Right?
Where was I 5 years ago? I think 5 years ago for me, I was living in Dallas, dating a woman. I think we wanted to circle back around because you were like, in college, did you date women? When did you start? Well, I think I started like officially like dating women when I was around like 25. And which is interesting to have like my first sexual experiences be with women, but then to not actually be in a relationship with women until later on. But I thought about it and it was like, I take relationships so seriously, and I was navigating like my understanding around monogamy and like polyamory and all of these different relationship structures. And I'm also such like a very committed person. So I just was really struggling trying to figure out identity. And in the beginning of when I started actually dating, like my first boyfriend, I said was like 17. We were together for a little while. My next boyfriend, I got when I was 19. We were together for a little while. My next boyfriend I got was 21. We were together for a little while. The next boyfriend I got, I was like 23. And then we ended up being together for like 5 years. So anytime I've gotten relationships, they've always lasted at least 2 years, if not longer. I'm like somebody's girlfriend / wifey vibes. I don't know if I can keep jumping into relationships because as much as I want to be in one, at the same time, I want to be free. And at the same time, I want to give myself space to expand and grow and change and evolve. And I didn't know how to do that in my monogamous relationships with men. And then I ended up dating a woman who was polyamorous. And that was like my first girlfriend. And that felt comforting to me. I was like, this gives us a lot of space and understanding. I have a lot of time on my own to have time alone. Like me and her would meet up like 3 times a week and we would have to plan dates. Like we'd have to create a schedule, which I freaking love that too. And, she had other partners that did not bother me at all. She had like a primary partner that she lived with. I never felt any sense of jealousy. I was like, maybe I am like a polyamorous person. Like this, navigating this world doesn't bother me at all. I don't feel any jealousy coming up. And if I do, I feel like I could talk about that, or I can also just do some self-reflecting to see where that's coming from. But I hadn't experienced that. Matter of fact, like there would be times where I felt a lot of compersion. And I was like, wow, this is like such a new feeling for me, where it's just like I feel a lot of like joy. The fact that someone I care about is experiencing joy, even though it's not coming directly from me. I just love that, because I don't know. I just love it. I don't know. I'm not a hater. I don't know.
Well,
I love it.
I think that practicing polyamory has given me like self-esteem.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to deal with at the beginning because it's all these new ways of doing how you were traditional before, and then like moving into the polyamorous sense, it's just new. It's like so many new things, feelings, and it's supposed to be healthy and communicative. Like you can't have polyamory without communication. You can, but it's usually not good. And there's a lot of resentment that can build up and bad feelings. But it also helped me be more honest with myself and with others, and just realize lose the possession of other human beings, because, they have their own fears, likes, desires, interests. And of course you can't get that all from one person. And a lot of people, and I think I have a lot of respect for people who are monogamous, because when you're monogamous, you really self-sacrifice quite a bit. And I think in a way that's suffering, and in a way that brings, development. But on the other side, there's a lot of development in polyamory, because you have to be honest and communicate and not neglect the parts of yourself. It's more individual based when you're polyamorous. Then I feel like monogamy, you're really losing sense of self and finding identity in the other and conjoining, identities. And then polyamory, it's really about like, who are you? What do you like? What brings you joy? What brings you pleasure? And then also having someone else who also has every single one of those same rights. So that, and not like possessing the other person, I think it's also I think you have a more satisfying maybe life, even though it can bring its own complications.
Yeah, I think of course we've had this conversation before where I'm like, I'm polyish.
Yeah, I'm polyish.
I'm polyish, monogamish, stuff like that. I've definitely landed on relationship anarchist, which is meaning that I can be in a monogamous relationship or I can be in a polyamorous relationship. I can flow between those. I feel like I would just have to navigate that with a specific partner to see where we land.
Yeah.
We're creating our own individual relationship. And there will be times where maybe I, say we are in an open relationship, but I'm feeling pretty monogamous and I don't mind that. And if my person wants to explore, that's fine too. Like, I feel like I can just move in between. I'm a very fluid.
Yeah. You go through phases of your life. And yeah, I would say I'm more naturally monogamous.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, I feel like polyamory has given me a sense of freedom that like,
yes,
I do want to have like a partner and one person that, I'm primarily like loving, but, you could feel that way for like 2 years. And then all of a sudden it's like, I feel like I need to learn something new. I need to see a new version of myself romantically. And you kind of just maybe have a fling or something, but you're very honest and communicative with your partner about that, and your partner's supportive. I think that can really help people stay together for a long time when you allow that freedom to, and like that non-possessiveness.
Yeah, I think possessiveness, when possessiveness is utilized in ways that are, for me personally, in ways that are cute, like if I'm feeling like little, and I, of course, with my abandonment issues and all of that stuff, sometimes it is nice for someone to be like, you're my person, and like, using all
no
of these.
There's no way you're going out with that person. You're mine. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Like
maybe I needed that.
Yeah. If it's utilized in like passionate sexual ways and not like creepy, like possessive, lock me in the house and I can't have friends type of ways. Like if it's like, of course, like both of us know that we have autonomy, but if it's used in like ways that are just like stimulating, like in play, then I'm okay with possessiveness. But outside of that, no. Like we all know what it is, but you can call me yours occasionally, because sometimes that just makes me feel special. A little giddy. Yeah, it feels a little giddy. But ultimately, I still feel like I am navigating those pieces of myself, because I do flow into feeling that sense of wanting to be someone, and then also wanting to feel free. And I feel like that's really hard to explain to most people, because they want you to pick. They're like, are we poly or are we monogamous? And I
don't like labels.
I hate hard.
Put me in a box, and like, I hate it. Like, I don't like to feel like, I don't like labels. I don't like to label my sexuality. I'm just like, yeah, I'm probably more gay, but like, I don't want to be like, oh, I'm all gay, like all in, like I'm just whatever I am. Like, just it can change, it can flow, it's gonna go up and down, and if sometimes I'm bisexual, like I don't want anything. Like for months, I'm just like, no. But then sometimes I'm like, yes. I don't know.
I know. I just want someone who is okay with someone that's so ever changing, be like, God, you're just awesome in all of your forms. And I'm so excited to just watch you grow and change and blossom.
Like, I can't wait to get to know you, like constantly, like for years.
And I'm just like, to me, I feel like that's so exciting, but to certain people that might be like,
some people don't like it. They're like, oh, you've changed. It's like, I've changed. Isn't that beautiful? Like, I love who I am and who I'm becoming. And like, it gets better and better with time. And if you don't like that, if you don't see that, then maybe you were just a chapter in my life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about what you think of astrology and spells. I think you do spells, and I grew up religiously, and I always thought spells were some like potion type thing where you're like putting spells to manipulate the universe and like things like that. That's what I was thinking spells were. And then also astrology, like some people are like, yeah, astrology's so dumb, or they'll like listen to a lot of comedy. And I was listening to Matt Rife or whatever, and they were just talking about red flags, and they were like, yeah, any girl who's like, what's your sign? And I'm like, damn. I kind of get it. Like, I also have like, I'm not like so fully into astrology, but I definitely feel like how the stars move creates like energetic fields, and like based on like where you're born and like where the stars were, it has this, gravity and all that stuff like affect like processes like unconsciously. And I'm like interested in that. And I also like astrology because it helps me get to know myself better, because, you can read the Taurus, horoscope, and you look into it and you read more about it. You do human design and you figure out like the different parts of yourself and what the different activations mean and chakras and all that stuff, like being blocked. And I think it gives you body awareness. It gives you like, you can be like, yeah, I agree with that. And then you find some sort of way to feel like you can express yourself. And that's what I like about astrology. But I wanted to hear your take on astrology, like the current climate of it.
Well, I am a fan of astrology. Also in tarot, there's a lot of overlap, right? With the tarot, the elemental energy comes in. So earth, fire, water, wind are matching up to the suits. So fire being wands, earth being pentacles, water being cups, and then air being swords. So there's a lot of elemental energy that comes in. And then also with that, astrology comes into play as well. So like earth signs, right, are Taurus, Capricorn, and Virgo. So it's like, to me, I feel like astrology kind of pulls in a lot of different things. It pulls in elemental energy. It just reminds me that everything is kind of interconnected. Also, when we think about our bodies in general, our bodies are 90% made of water. And the planet itself is more water than there is land. And then the moon pulls the tide. How can we not say that the moon isn't going to affect our bodies if our bodies are made of water, if the planet is made of water, if the moon pulls the tide? It just is like everything is so interconnected. Even if we talk about sacred geometry found in all living things all over the place, the lines in our hands, and the fingerprints, we can find those same lines in like the stumps of trees and all of that as well. It's just like everything feels very interconnected. So I don't want to ever be like, oh, it doesn't exist or this or that. But I do understand and recognize how people can feel confused about it, because for a long time I would look up my astrology as for Leo and I would be like, I don't relate to this. This doesn't make sense to me. I don't get it. And then when I found out that there's a full natal chart where it's very specific, where all the planets were in specific zodiac signs,
you're really
each planet.
Yeah, you're really, when you read your Leo horoscope, you're really just reading one out of like 20 different ways that make you unique.
Yeah. And not even, and this is just Western astrology. I just found out recently about nakshatras, which is a different astrology. And when I looked up my natal chart in the nakshatra, my sun sign is Cancer. And not only in the nakshatras, they do degrees. So depending on what degree you are, depends on which form of Cancer you're showing up as. So my sun sign is in the nakshatra that falls in the degree of Pushya, which all of this I know sounds hard, but it's like Hindu and using a lot of Sanskrit. But Pushya is the star of nurturing, and that's my sun sign. And when I looked up what that meant, it's like usually people who have Pushya as their main sign are people who are very gentle, very nurturing, very sensual. And I was like, oh, wow, this sounds exactly like me. And I was like, God, that makes so much sense. So I have found likeness in Western astrology and also with the nakshatras. So I do believe in astrology. I do think it's another form of just getting to know yourself. And I feel like if you're immediately like a contrarian about it, I just feel like you're the type of person that just has opinions without doing research. And I don't personally find that attractive, but I'm not gonna, shun you. You do you. I recently met someone and I asked them like, hey, like, what's your zodiac sign? We were out at the bar. When I started that meditation, I was meeting other people who were in the community. And at the time I only did tarot. And then I started learning about meditation. And then I realized I have to learn spell work, because there are people out here that see me, they see my energy, they're attracted to me physically, they like my vibe. And instead of just asking if I'm interested in them, they're going to do a little spell to try to make me interested. And I'm so like tuned in that like I literally had a dream. I can smell the candle burning in my dream of this girl casting a love spell on me. she like cast a love spell on me, and she was just at my house. So who knows what she did, like took hair out of my hairbrush or whatever. And I was just like, wow. Like I felt so violated and I felt so isolated because I was like, I just wanted to have like spiritual Black community. And here I am just being like set apart.
Do you think that love spells are bad?
I feel like love spells are not for me in particular. I could create a spell to call in love to me, but I'm not going to target a specific person. And for me, the reason why I feel that way is because I want the love to feel real and I want to feel like you chose it. And it's like a consent thing for me. I feel like you didn't consent to this. Like I'm forcing this onto you because I feel like you have something I need. And I don't really feel that way about anyone. I don't feel like anyone has anything I need. I feel like my needs will be met and the people that I meet will all bring different vibes that will add to my story or what I want to learn in the ways I want to grow. So I don't ever feel like I need to target anyone specifically. You know?
I almost feel like when you're focusing on other people and trying to manipulate their lives, I think that can be dark.
Yeah, it is dark. And I feel like I'm not shaming anyone that feels those feelings. I think it's just one of those things where, again, these feelings are trying to communicate to your body. So that thing that you feel like you need from that person, you're moving out of lack because you feel like you don't have it for yourself. You admire that person. Maybe you want to be like that person. What are some things that you admire and how can you bring that into your own life in your own way and feel inspired by that? Like I've had so many people, like not so many, but I've had a couple people cast love spells on me, which didn't work. If you cast a love spell and someone doesn't have love for you, it backfires. That's another thing about doing certain magic. It can backfire on you. That's why I only do things to amplify the vibes. That's why I was like vibe specialist. You know what I'm saying? Like we're just amplifying the vibes. We're calling in the good energy to expand our personal lives. Like what you got going on over there is none of my business. And if I feel like there's something about you that I like and admire, I'm not going to try to take it. I'm just going to observe it, enjoy it, celebrate it, you know, and be inspired by it, but I'm not going to co-opt it, you know. But there are people that do spell work like that. But yeah, I felt like I was forced to have to learn spell work because I was feeling unprotected. So I was like, I need to protect my energy. I need to make sure that people can't cast things against me and try to make me be in love with them, which wasn't going to fly. But when that first happened, deity approached me in my dream. A deity approached me and she sent a protection. She sent a dog to protect me in my dream. It was literally the freakiest dream. Like I felt like it was life. Like I could feel it. And in my dream, after that woman put a love spell on me, I was like, I smelled the candle burning, smelled it. I seen her in my house, like as it looked. And she was sitting on my couch and she was looking all like sexy or whatever. And she was like, I want you. And I was like, me?
The girl?
Yeah, this was in my dream when I realized she put a spell. Yeah. And then she comes over to my bed and then in the dream I black out and I wake up in the dream still and she's like laying in my bed and I go to my bathroom and I look in the mirror and I see this black dog in the mirror, like huge, like probably come up to my waist. And then I turn around and look behind me and the dog is not there anymore. And then I look in the mirror.
Crying. It's scary.
Yeah.
It's not scary, but it's just giving me chills.
It's intense. Like
it's intense.
I've had so many intense like visions that feel so like I can feel the water, like I can smell the everything. Things get weird over here. That's why I'm like, if I ever find a partner, like you're gonna have to be cool with a lot of things. And that's why I can't deal with like people who are like astrology. I'm like, it gets way weirder over here.
It's gonna get weird.
It's gonna get more weird. So yeah, so then in the dream, I looked in the mirror and I look into this dog's eyes and the eyes are like yellow and the dog was like whimpering and I like actually stare into its eyes And then it manifests into my bathroom in my dream. And the dog sat in front of my tub as I'm showering, like cleansing myself. So I wake up at like 4 a.m, like right after that dream. And I was like, what the hell? And I felt it. I was like, I know this bitch did not try to put a love spell on me. So I pull out my cards and I ask my tarot, like, hey, what was that dream about? And it was like the Queen of Cups, someone with romantic interest, the Seven of Swords, someone trying to do something sneaky and try to do this love spell. And I was like, I knew it. I called up a friend at the time that also did tarot. I didn't tell her anything. And I was like, hey, like I have this weird feeling about something. Can you just pull a few cards? Same cards came out. And I was like, yeah, this is confirmation. I knew it. So then I get up and I go take a shower, and I have a cat at this time. My cat was super witchy. Anytime I did tarot, he was always sitting right there. He was just all in it. So I go to the bathroom to take a shower, awake now. This isn't the dream. So I go to take a shower, and my cat comes in there and lays in front of the tub the exact same way that the dog did in my dream that I just woke up from, in the exact same way, like he was guarding it. And I was like, yeah, this is trippy. And this woman tried to put a spell on me, and there's so much synchronicity around it. And I confirmed it multiple times. And after that, it really made me depressed, because I was just like, I felt like I couldn't have any friends. Cause like, I don't know, this sounds crazy, but there'd be a lot of friends I'd have that would end up like falling in love with me. And I would just be like, oh, like I only see you as a friend. And then they don't want to be my friend anymore. So I just felt lonely. I was like,
it hurts.
Yeah, it hurts. I'm like, you know, this new friend, I'm thinking we're friends, and she's casting love spells on me. And then, you know, I have old friends that I've been friends with forever. And I'm just like, gosh, I feel so lonely and no one wants to be my friend. And then they're like, oh, I'm actually in love with you too. And I'm like, I was like, I hate everything, which I know sounds like a weird thing to be upset about. But
no, but it's painful when you don't love someone back romantically or sexually, and then this person that you loved and trusted, it's like now the relationship can't be, and it's like you have to mourn the relationship. So it is tough.
Exactly. And like at that time, both of those things happened. So I just felt extra freaking lonely. I was like, dang, I want a community so bad. And then I try to come into this witchy community, and then it's like a bunch of, you know, black witchy lesbians that are trying to fuck me and like, and put love spells on me. And I was just like, So yeah, so then that's when I decided like, okay, you know what? Spell work. I need to know how to protect myself. But then I'm like, I'm also me though. So like spell work to make everybody feel good. And we're going to like put good intention on it. We're going to utilize spells to help us like move through our day and make life a little bit easier and help us remove blockages. So it couldn't just be spell work out of like, oh, I'm scared. It's like, okay, spell work because I want to know how to protect myself, you know? And then that ability to protect myself made me feel really confident. And then it just made me feel expansive. And then it's like, well, if I can help people feel or be able to concentrate their intention on something that's blocking them, if they want to feel more motivated, if they just need like a little boost or an assist to whatever they have going on, I'm about it. And that's how my spell work expanded from there. As far as dark magic, that's not really my thing, but I do understand if things are justified and you need to, if you're doing like defensive magic or like protection magic, I'm about it. If someone is acting weird with you or want to be jealous or have bad vibes, you don't want that vibe around, do a cord cutting ritual, do a binding spell, put them in the freezer. Just like, don't bother me, girl. Don't even worry about it. You know, I don't have a problem with that. But it's like me initially trying to go after somebody for any specific thing or even just for humanness. No, I have no interest. Like, but if you come for me, I'm coming for you.
I mean, what about spells? Are they like pretty cut and clear, or can I like make up my own spells?
You can definitely create your own. You can 100% create your own. Spells are actually not hard to create at all. It just kind of depends on what element you're connecting to, what intention you want to bring in. There's a really cool spell that I like to do with friends. And it's this ankle bracelet I have on right now, but it's a braided bracelet. Me and my friend, we went and got embroidery thread, and each color represents an energy. Right? You create the intention or a chant, and then you bind it by braiding it. And then you light a candle that also has an intention with your bracelet, and you let the candle burn down, and then boom, that's your spell. You now created like a talisman, and you wrap it around your ankle or you keep it on you. And then, there you go. Spells can be created all the time, anywhere, out of anything. It's the same thing as manifesting, in my opinion, but it's just adding more of the elements to it versus just saying things out into the universe. You're like, okay, this is the energy I'm going to call in, and I'm giving gratitude to the earth for this. I'm giving gratitude to the air for this. I'm giving gratitude to the element of fire and the element of water, and the element of spirit. You're just, to me, spells are the same as manifesting. You're just adding more of a full ritual and this full embodiment of gratitude. And I feel like that's really special versus being like, universe daddy, send me this. You're like, universe, this is what I desire. And I also appreciate and honor all the things that come about to create this desire into my reality. That's the difference for me.
It comes with like that genuine heart. I think the universe is able to scope it out for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is a good time to do the collective tarot reading. If you are watching this on YouTube, when it eventually launches on YouTube, we are going to videotape it. So in the podcast video, it should be appearing here soon. So let's prepare.
Yeah, so I actually do have a side note. Another thing I will say about like all of the magic, right? All the magic, all of the honoring of the elements and all of this stuff. I just feel like I'm co-creating with the universe. So now my ability to manifest and call things in is so seamless. Like the other day I was like, man, I really want to get a brand new dresser, right? And I was talking about that, and here we are like a week and a half later, and my friend was like, oh, I just found this perfect dresser. I'm about to bring it home for you. And it's actually perfect. Like I'm looking at this text message like, wow, didn't even have to buy it.
Let me see.
Didn't even have to think about it. Didn't even anything. I just said, hey, I think I need to get a dresser. I want to get a dresser. And I was like,
they kind of look like butterflies, but they're leaves.
Yeah, it's cute.
It is very cute.
And it's vintage. I'm like,
yeah, totally.
The universe knows my heart.
So where are you staying these days?
So I'm living in Fort Worth. I have a roommate. She's fantastic. Another magical connection that happened out of nowhere.
So you did find a place. You're staying with the person now?
Yes, I am staying with a person. Yeah, I guess another little side story, but I'm not going to go deep into it. But I had a business partner. Our relationship did not work out because we were just on different terms. I had a little pop-up shop inside of her shop in Fort Worth, but the way she was running business was like really risky and uncomfortable. And when I told her about it, she got like really aggressive, and it was weird. And I was like, ooh, I don't vibe like this. Weird vibes them out. Like it only takes one time for someone to get like really aggressive before I'm out of there. Cause like I'm so used to good vibes and healthy communication that anytime I don't experience that, I'm like, oh yeah, I don't have to be here. I do not have to be here.
You do not have to.
I'm like, the way that my energy is, I feel like I've put so much time and effort into myself and what my energy provides, like being a vibe specialist. I'll keep coming back to that because it's true. And I know what being connected to me, what value it brings. So as soon as you're going to do something that seems even semi-harmful, I'm like, oop, I revoke my energy. You don't get it, So I had a friend call me. And as soon as she called me, this is a friend I hadn't talked to in 6 months, and she's witchy as well. And she called me the very next day after me and my business partner got into it. And she's like, hey, is everything okay? I was just really thinking about you today. And I was like, actually, no, it's not. This happened with my business partner. And my business partner was also someone I was living with. So, because I had moved out of state to here, and it was like this business opportunity, and I took it, whatever. And then my now roommate was like, okay, I'm coming to get you. Let's take all your stuff. You're going to come stay with me. And I was like, wow, that was solved so fast. The very next day. All of the connection with the universe, I just feel like you never feel like you're going to fall or you're going to fail. And I think that kind of has its own confidence instilled with it too. That's why I do what I do.
Yeah.
For all the reasons.
I feel like you live very non-conventionally, and I really like to witness that.
Yeah, thank you.
It's like inspiring for my own self.
It's like
you can get caught up like a cog in the machine. Easy. Obeying. Obedience.
A little inside joke.
An inside joke. We went and saw a performance artist do this scene, and we had no idea what to expect. And we show up, we're like, okay, there's this scene here, and we're like waiting for it to start. And then it starts, and the girl comes out and she has this box, and there's a dog, and then there's another person in the corner that's interacting with the dog. And she has this box, it's taped up. She takes a knife and cuts it open, takes out everything out of the box, and then takes all the stuff, puts it back in the box, tapes it up, and then opens the box, takes everything out, puts everything back in.
For an hour and a half.
An hour and a half.
And we never had a clue of when it was going to end. That was the crazy part.
I knew when it was going to end. I knew it was going to end when the tape ran out. So she did it until the tape ran out. And that performance was so hard to get through. And there was the words written all around her on the walls was obedient, like 100 million times. Like, know the exact numbers. She counted all the obedience on the wall.
It was 238 times.
Yeah. So there's like obedient written all over the walls. And like, there's the dog, and the girl in the corner was like, telling the dog to sit before she gave it the bone every time. And the dog just kept doing it. And then the dog was kind of like, what's going on? And then it was just being really obedient. So like watching that, and then unpacking the things in the box and repacking, I guess the items represented traumas. We're constantly packing up and unpacking our traumas. And like, even though it was torture to watch, and you could just see how uncomfortable the crowd was getting, just could not stand still, shaking their legs. It was causing so much discomfort. And it being the last thing on earth you would ever want to watch, it had so much meaning. And it was like, wow, that was actually pretty cool.
It was so cool. And it was just so interesting too, because again, there was no communication about what we're watching. There was no expression that changed. It was the same repetitive motion the entire time. It was like an endurance, performance art piece that you just had to kind of fill in the pieces on your own. And people took different understanding from it at the end, until we talked to the creator and found out it was unpacking trauma and how your healing journey never really ends. And I was like, wow.
It was super cool.
Tears.
Beautiful.
All
right, let's get started. The universe has brought you to this podcast, to this episode for this reading, and this pertains to anyone listening right now.
So typically how I do my readings, I just kind of ask a few different energies that are going on. Right now, this is a collective reading. So in the place of the mind, we do have the Queen of Wands. This energy is someone who is passionate, bossy, fiery, definitely someone who likes to be seen. So that could be you or someone that's on your mind. Let's see here. Learn a little bit more about that. Now we have the Nine of Swords coming out. So there could be an anxiety going on as well. So this could, again, when it's a collective reading, take what resonates. Don't force a message on yourself. This Queen of Wands energy, this passionate, bossy, fiery, confident person could be someone that you're thinking about or could have interest in. And with the Nine of Swords, this could be a little anxiety around that. So I'm reading this two different ways. This could be someone you're interested in, but you have a little bit of anxiety around their confidence. Or this could be you, but you are experiencing like just a lack of confidence at this moment. So we'll see what else is going on. Okay, we have the Justice card. Okay, so I am reading this both ways. So with the Justice card, this is the desire to have some honesty and clarity in the situation, and also wanting balance out of everything. Like, is this a balanced, reciprocal connection? If this is me reading for someone you have interest in and why you feel the anxiety, this person might be very confident. Again, they might think about themselves first. And I do feel like you might have anxiety telling them how you feel. and wondering if you're going to have this like reciprocal connection with them. We have the Empress card coming out. This definitely feels like a desire. You're coming into this desire of wanting softness. I think you might be really used to having that fiery, confident type of energy around, even if that is you, right? Like no matter your gender, you might have like this sassy, flamboyant, like confident energy around you, very social butterfly vibes, or you're used to being attracted to that. And now I see you like kind of transitioning to desiring softness and this like comfort, and even a place where you can become more soft, where you don't have to always be like keeping people on their toes with like your sassy, witty banter and, you know, your pachow finger guns vibes.
Like no one's going to see the finger guns.
No one's seeing the finger guns you're doing right now.
I guess they are with the camera.
Oh, hello. So sidebar, I usually do my tarot on video, like with my face. So sometimes I explain things with my hands or with sound effects. So I'm going to have to just navigate that. So yeah, I do see you guys desiring softness or a place where you can be more soft. Like you want your softer emotions to be appreciated and not just when you're like this bossy, sassy person. You want something that feels like slow and patient and something that has some long-term energy as well. Let's see. I'm going to go back into the Nine of Swords and just see where some of this anxiety is coming from too. We have the Ten of Wands. So the Ten of Wands talks about something being laborious or a lot of work. When we have this energy coming out with the Nine of Swords, it's like your anxiety about the situation has felt like a burden, and you might be really consumed with fear right now. Let's see some of the advice of how you can navigate through this energy. Well, one, we have the Moon card. This is you tapping into your intuition about it. Your intuition is signaling you some of these fears for a reason, I'm seeing. Let's see what your intuition is trying to signal you. Like I had said before, if you guys were listening earlier, I was saying like your emotions are actually messengers for you. So sometimes we like to like dismiss or invalidate our fears and try to shut them down. But if we actually ask them like, hey, where is this coming from? You can figure out if that's coming from, hey, I'm being triggered from a past experience, or hey, like I have these anxieties because there's something about this person that isn't in alignment with what I desire. So let's see here. Tell me a little bit more about this. Seven of Wands can go two different ways. It can talk about you having your walls up or someone else having their walls up. It can also talk about you protecting your energy as well. And it definitely does feel like a protecting of energy. And I think as much as we like to crucify our fear and anxiety, sometimes it really does come up as a form of protection. And I think that's what's happening here. So I'm going to figure out about who this person is a little bit more and why the anxiety is coming up. Is this intuition? Is this from your past? Who is this person? Yeah, so it does feel like romantic energy, which I was kind of sensing that from the beginning. We have the Ace of Cups here, which talks about romantic. So this could be a romantic interest. And let's see if this anxiety is just like from your past, from yourself, or because of something that they're doing. Some of this anxiety is coming from, we have the Star card. You guys are romantics. We have the Star card. Being in like a loving relationship is kind of a manifestation or a wish for you. But Three of Swords is showing up here on the bottom. There's just a lot of fear here around heartbreak or being hurt. So the anxiety is coming from a heartbreak, being hurt space, which is natural and makes sense. So we're going to pull one more card here of advice of how to navigate this energy, how to navigate it. Three of Swords with the Three of Swords. Interesting. Let's see. I'm going to clarify this energy because they literally just hit me with the I said what I said. Okay, so we have the Three of Swords with the Nine of Pentacles. Both of these together talks about you finding independence and then also being able to navigate this heartbreak energy or this fear energy. So there could be something from the past here that's just kind of bringing up some fears. If you just sit with it independently for a little while, I do feel like you're going to be able to move through that energy And let's just see what a potential outcome could be from that. Yeah, if you're able to sit through that energy, it's going to give you clarity on exactly what you're looking for romantically. With the Page of Pentacles, you'll be able to better manifest. So you might have a hard time really pinpointing what you're trying to get from this person, because either interacting with them is triggering some heartbreak from the past, because they might do things that you've seen before, or you feel like your emotions aren't safe with them or something like that, or you just need to spend a little bit more time healing that area. But once you do, you'll be able to have real clear, strong focus on what you're trying to manifest. And I do see the Wheel of Fortune here, meaning that your situation is going to turn around for the better. I'm going to pull one card from my Oracle deck. Oracle decks are a little bit different than tarot. They have direct messages that are like clean and straight to the point. Anybody can really do Oracle decks because you don't have to have the education of knowing what each card means.
I love Oracle decks.
This Oracle decks are awesome. So we actually have freedom coming out here, which this is one of my favorite Oracle cards. Freedom, and I'm just going to read from the book to give you deeper understanding. Freedom says, it's time to leave a situation that you've outgrown. Question the validity of any rules that you've imposed upon yourself. Allow the universe to support you while you make desired life changes. Be assertive and say no to anyone who's overstepping boundaries with you. Walk away from restrictions and be free. You have the power and the right to change your life so that you experience more freedom. This card signifies that your soul is crying out for more freedom, especially as it evolves your life purpose. Perhaps it's time to take a break so you can think clearly about your desires and available options. The universe always supports the desire for expansion, creativity, and freedom. Say yes to freedom, and the universe will say yes to you.
I love that.
So that is what I have for the collective reading. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and Elle as we went through a lot of silly things towards the end there.
Yeah. I mean, is there a place where people can experience you on social media?
Yes, I am on Instagram at the Sensual Sage, and that's sensual.
It was such a great conversation. I really appreciate you, Simone, as a friend, and for doing the tarot card reading for everyone. I had a lot of insight during it, and I hope everyone else did too. And see you guys next time, and thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.